The courthouse was supposed to be quiet. Just another Atlanta morning where Rasheeda finally got the chance to take back her power. Standing face to face with Kirk Frost in a divorce hearing that had already drawn whispers across the city. But what no one expected, what absolutely no one could have predicted, was the moment the doors creaked open and Jasmine, yes, that Jasmine, walked in with her head high, eyes locked on Rasheeda like she had been waiting for this exact moment too. Strike. The entire courtroom froze. Gasps filled the air. Kirk's jaw dropped. Rasheeda's eyes widened with rage and fear. And before anyone could even stop her, Jasmine cleared her throat, reached into her bag, and said the words that sent shockwaves through every reporter, every fan, and every single person who had ever followed this messy, toxic, and never-ending saga. I have something else to say. What followed wasn't just gossip. It wasn't just shade. It was a nuclear revelation that had people clutching their pearls, judges banging the gavel, and lawyers scrambling to regain order. This wasn't just Rasheeda versus Kirk anymore. This was a war being hijacked live, right there in front of Kodak. Right there in front of the world by the one woman Rasheeda swore she would never forgive. And trust me, the bomb Jasmine dropped, it makes every past scandal look like child's play. The energy outside the Fulton County Courthouse was different that morning. Reporters lined the steps, cameras flashing non-stop. Fans whispering in hushed tones as they clutched their phones, waiting to go live at the first sign of drama. Rasheeda, the woman who had carried herself for years with poise and patience, arrived in a black trench coat, oversized shades covering eyes that had clearly cried too much in private. Her lawyer walked beside her, shielding her from the barrage of shouted questions. Is it true you've had enough of Kirk's lies? Did Jasmine's name come up in the filings? Are you asking for everything in the settlement? Rasheeda didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence was the loudest response of them all. Inside the courtroom, Kirk Frost sat uncomfortably in a crisp gray suit, tugging at his collar as though the very fabric was choking him. The man had built a career on swagger, smooth talking, and evading accountability, but in that courtroom seat, he looked small. His team of attorneys whispered strategy into his ear, but Kirk's eyes kept darting toward the door, as if he knew the ghosts of his past were just waiting to storm in. And, let's be clear, this wasn't just any divorce hearing. This was the culmination of years of public humiliation, betrayal, and scandal. Fans had watched Rasheeda forgive Kirk too many times, watched her defend him when the world laughed at her, and watched her stand firm even as Jasmine Washington's name kept resurfacing in headline after headline. This hearing wasn't just legal, it was symbolic. Was Rasheeda finally saying, "I'm done"? The courtroom filled slowly, row by row, with curious onlookers and gossip-hungry bloggers who had managed to sneak in, clutching their notepads and phones under jackets. They wanted the first scoop. They wanted the live tweets that would go viral. And everyone knew if Kirk and Rasheeda were about to finally sever ties, something explosive was bound to happen. Rasheeda sat tall at her table, hands clasped in front of her, every inch of her body language screaming control. But behind those shades, insiders whispered, was a storm ready to break. Sources close to her had already leaked that she had stacks of receipts, financial records, secret payments, and even suspicious text messages that tied Kirk back to behavior he swore was in the past. Rasheeda wasn't just here for divorce. She was here for vindication. The judge entered, the room rose, and the hearing began. Lawyers shuffled papers, statements were read, and for a while, it seemed like just another tense but ordinary proceeding. Kirk's side argued for privacy. Rasheeda's side argued for transparency. Every word felt like a chess move. Every objection like a jab in a fight that had been years in the making. But then, just as Rasheeda's lawyer was presenting a timeline, Of Kirk's infidelities, the door at the back of the courtroom creaked open. Heads turned. The whispering started instantly. A pair of heels clicked against the wooden floor, steady, unbothered, confident, and then she appeared. Jasmine Washington. The air shifted. The very oxygen seemed to leave the room. People gasped audibly, some even clutching their mouths as though they couldn't believe what their eyes were seeing. Rasheeda's composure cracked for the first time, her lips tightened. Her jaw clenched, and her hands gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles whitened. Kirk? He froze like a deer caught in headlights, blinking rapidly as if he could blink the moment away. Jasmine was dressed simply, in a pale cream dress with her hair pulled back, but her presence was anything but simple. She walked straight past the murmuring crowd, straight past Kirk's attorneys who were already whispering frantically, and stopped in the aisle, right where everyone could see her. "I have something to say," she announced, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. The judge tried to restore order, banging the gavel, but the noise in the room only grew louder. Phones were whipped out, texts were sent at lightning speed, and within seconds, hashtags like #Jasmine in court and #RASHEEWTA divorce drama were already trending online. Rasheeda's eyes burned holes into Jasmine. The betrayal wasn't new, but the audacity, the timing, the boldness of crashing her divorce hearing. That was the twist no one saw coming. Kirk leaned forward, whispering hoarsely to his lawyer. She wasn't supposed to be here, but it was too late. Jasmine had arrived, and she wasn't leaving without being heard. Reporters outside the courtroom got wind of it almost instantly. Tweets started flooding, timelines breaking. Jasmine Washington just walked into Rasheeda and Kirk's divorce. Hearing the bomb we've all been waiting for just dropped. This is about to get uglier than we ever imagined. Inside, Jasmine reached into her bag, slowly, deliberately pulling out a thick folder. The sight of it made the entire room buzz louder. Was it evidence? More receipts? Or something even bigger? The judge tried to demand order. Lawyers shouted objections, but Jasmine kept her eyes locked on Rasheeda, her voice rising above the chaos. "You think you know everything about what Kirk has done, but you don't. Not yet." The room fell into a stunned silence. Even the judge paused, staring at her like she was holding dynamite. Rasheeda, shaking now but determined not to let it show, finally broke her silence. "What the hell are you doing here?" She spat, her voice trembling with fury. "And Jasmine?" She smiled faintly, not smug, not mocking, just the kind of smile that says you're about to hear something you can't unhear. The tension was unbearable. Every second stretched out, every heartbeat echoing against the wooden walls. And just when everyone thought she might walk back out, Jasmine stepped forward and laid the folder flat on the table. "You're not the only one filing papers today," she said softly. The words sent shockwaves through the courtroom. People gasped. The judge leaned forward, and Kirk's face drained of all color. Whatever was inside that folder wasn't just gossip, was a bomb waiting to detonate. And with that, the first part of this courtroom saga ended, not with a ruling or a gavel, but with a cliffhanger that had the entire city buzzing. Because whatever Jasmine had brought with her, it wasn't just about Kirk and Rasheeda. Anymore, it was about to take everything to a whole new level. The folder sat on the polished courtroom table like a live grenade, every eye locked on it, every breath held. Even the judge, who had spent decades keeping order in the most chaotic cases, looked unsettled. "Ms. Washington," he said firmly, "this is not the time nor the place for unauthorized statements." But Jasmine didn't flinch. She slid the folder closer to the edge of the table, her nails tapping it in a slow rhythm that seemed to mock the silence in the room. Kirk was visibly sweating now. He leaned forward to his attorney, whispering furiously. His lawyer shook his head, whispering back with equal urgency, but Kirk's eyes never left the folder. It was like staring down the very evidence of his downfall. Rasheeda, on the other hand, remained perfectly still. Her hands were folded, her face stone cold. But beneath the surface, everyone could see the storm brewing. Finally, Jasmine broke the silence. "Since the truth always finds a way out," she said, "I'm here to save time." Slowly, deliberately, she opened the folder. Gasps echoed as she held up the first sheet of paper bank statement. But not just any bank statement. This one showed payments made directly from one of Kirk's business accounts to an unnamed recipient. Jasmine's finger tapped the highlighted transactions. 6 months ago, 3 months ago, last month. She looked at Rasheeda, and no, these weren't to me. The words sent ripples across the courtroom. If Jasmine wasn't here to expose her own entanglement with Kirk, then who was she talking about? Kirk shot to his feet. "This is irrelevant," he shouted, his voice cracking. The judge banged the gavel, ordering him to sit down. But the damage was already done. The sight of Kirk losing his composure was damning enough. He was cornered, and everyone knew it. Jasmine calmly laid out more papers, emails, printed screenshots of text exchanges, receipts. One by one, she revealed what looked like a trail of financial support for another woman. Not her, but someone else, you thought? I was the only secret, she asked, her eyes locked on Rasheeda. You thought I was the mistake he made and tried to hide? You don't even know the half of it. The courtroom buzzed like a hive of bees. Bloggers who had managed to sneak in scribbled furiously. Others thumbed out updates to Twitter. Jasmine drops folder of evidence in Rasheeda's divorce hearing, says Kirk has another woman. Within minutes, social media was ablaze with hashtags. Hashtag another woman. Hashtag Kirk Frost exposed, and hashtag RASHEEDA deserves better. RASHEEDA single quotes as lawyer leaned in, whispering urgently, but Rasheeda raised her hand to silence him. She wanted to hear this. She needed to hear this. Her face was still, but her lips trembled slightly, betraying the rage she was holding back. The judge finally demanded order. If Ms. Washington has relevant information to this case, it will be considered formally. Otherwise, this circus ends now. But Jasmine wasn't done. Relevant, she echoed. Your Honor, what I have here is proof that Kirk Frost has continued a pattern of financial deception, using his businesses not just to funnel money to me in the past, but to cover his tracks with yet another woman who has a child he refuses to acknowledge. The room erupted. People gasped, shouted, some even stood. The gavel pounded, voices clashed, but no one could unhear the words. Another child, another woman. The betrayal Rasheeda thought she had already endured suddenly looked like the tip of the iceberg. Kirk's face turned red as he pounded his fist on the table. She's lying. She's trying to ruin me because she's bitter. His lawyer tried to calm him, but Kirk's voice rose louder. None of that is true, Your Honor. This is slander. But Jasmine didn't falter. She pulled out a photo and placed it face up on the table for the judge to see. Gasps filled the room again as whispers spread. A child's face printed in color, staring up from the page. This, Jasmine said, her voice steady, is the reason Kirk doesn't want me here today. Because this isn't just about his marriage anymore. It's about the other lies. The other lives. The judge sat back in his chair, frowning deeply. Rasheeda leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the photo. For the first time, her composure cracked. Wide open, her shoulders shook, and a sharp inhale gave her away. Rasheeda was breaking. She had come to court for closure, but Jasmine had just ripped the ground out from beneath her. Social media was in flames now. Clips from inside the courtroom leaked by attendees circulated within minutes. Tweets poured in. Rasheeda looks Heartbroken, Jasmine just dropped a photo of a kid in court. This is worse than anyone thought. Kirk's whole world is crashing down. Fans posted side-by-side comparisons of Kirk's younger features and the child's photo, speculating wildly. Meanwhile, in the courtroom, the tension turned deadly quiet. Kirk sat down heavily, his head in his hands. His lawyer whispered frantically about requesting a recess, but Kirk wasn't even listening. Rasheeda finally spoke, her voice trembling but strong enough to cut through the silence. "Is it true?" she asked, staring at Kirk. "Is any of this true?" Kirk didn't answer. His silence was louder than any denial. The judge granted a brief recess, but no one left their seat. No one wanted to miss a second of what was happening. As the courtroom buzzed, Jasmine leaned over to Rasheeda, speaking low but firm enough for those nearby to hear. "I wasn't here to hurt you. I was here to show you that you've been fighting the wrong battle all along." Those words haunted the room. Because if Jasmine wasn't the true threat to Rasheeda's marriage, then who was? The cameras outside picked up the chaos immediately. Paparazzi shouted questions as recess was announced, while Twitter exploded with trending threads and Instagram went wild with speculation. Memes popped up within minutes, some mocking Kirk, others defending Rasheeda. One viral tweet read, "Imagine staying through all Kirk's mess with Jasmine, only to find out there's another one. Rasheeda deserves the world." Inside, Kirk tried to regain his composure. His attorney begged him to deny everything, to dismiss Jasmine as a bitter ex. But Kirk's eyes betrayed him. He couldn't even look Rasheeda in the eye. And then, just when it seemed the tension couldn't climb any higher, Jasmine leaned back in her chair, crossed her arms, and added one more dagger. "I'm not the only one who came today." The courtroom froze again. All eyes darted toward the door. And that's when it opened. The doors creaked open with a long, agonizing groan, and every head in the courtroom snapped toward the entrance. For a moment, the sunlight streaming in from the hallway blinded the view, but then a figure stepped forward, tall, poised, and unmistakably carrying the kind of confidence that comes only from knowing you hold the final card in a game of destruction. Whispers erupted immediately. Phones shot into the air, recording as fast as possible. The murmurs grew into a storm when the woman was recognized. She wasn't some stranger off the street. She was someone connected. She was someone whose name had floated around in hushed conversations for years, but no one ever had the courage or proof to say it aloud. Her name was Tanya, a former model who once worked closely with Frost Enterprises during its peak branding years. Jasmine smirked as Tanya walked down the aisle, every step echoing like a drumbeat. Rasheeda's knuckles turned white as she gripped the edge of the table. Kirk's face went pale. His lips parted, but no sound came out. The judge, visibly rattled by the growing circus, tried to restore order. "This is not a spectacle. This is a court of law." But even his gavel couldn't silence the eruption of voices. Tanya stepped forward, holding a smaller folder in her hand. She didn't even look at Jasmine. Instead, she locked eyes with Kirk, her stare sharp enough to cut glass. "You told me you would never let it come to this," she said softly. But her words carried across the room like thunder. Kirk buried his face in his palms. The courtroom exploded. "Another woman!" Someone shouted. "He's been paying her too." Another yelled. Twitter blew up instantly. #ToNutruther shot up the trending list alongside #Rasheeda Desvers. Tanya laid her folder next to Jasmine's and opened it. Inside were paternity test documents, notarized and sealed. She held them up for the judge to see. "Just financial support. This is blood. Kirk is the father of my child, and he's known for years." The sound of Rasheeda's breath hitching filled the silence. She pushed back her chair, standing on trembling legs, her body shaking as tears welled in her eyes. She had weathered storm after storm, stood beside Kirk when the world mocked her for forgiving him. But this was a betrayal beyond repair. Kirk finally stood, his voice breaking as he shouted, "This isn't true. This is all a setup. They're trying to frame me." His lawyer tugged at his sleeve, begging him to sit down, but Kirk was unraveling in front of the world. Tanya didn't flinch. She slid the paternity test across the table right under the judge's nose. "You can lie to her. You can lie to your fans, but you can't lie to science. He is the father." The courtroom gasped again, and the frenzy outside the courthouse reached a fever pitch as reporters scrambled to confirm. TMZ pushed a breaking alert. The Shade Room posted the first leaked clip of Tanya holding the documents. Instagram was flooded with memes mocking Kirk. One viral post showed a cartoon of Kirk juggling 3 babies with the caption, "New circus act, Kirk the clown." Rasheeda's voice cut through the madness, sharp and full of anguish. "How many times, Kirk? How many more women? How many more kids?" She turned toward Jasmine and Tanya, her voice trembling but steady. "And you? Both of you. You sat there, knowing everything, and let me fight for a marriage that was already dead." Jasmine softened for the first time. "I told you. I wasn't here to hurt you. I was here to show you the truth. You were standing on ashes, Rasheeda. You deserve better." Tanya added, her tone quieter but cutting. "You're not the one he betrayed. We all are." The judge called for order again, threatening to clear the courtroom if the chaos didn't stop. But nothing could cage the wildfire now. The gallery was alive with gasps, whispers, and frantic typing as every revelation spread like lightning across the internet. Outside, fans began gathering, chanting Rasheeda's name in support. Others shouted for Kirk's arrest, accusing him of fraud and manipulation. Even celebrities chimed in online. Candy Burris tweeted, "This is too much. Praying for Rasheeda right now. No woman deserves this humiliation." Meanwhile, 50 Cent jumped into the chaos with a mocking Instagram post of Kirk's face photoshopped onto Maury's body, captioned, "Kirk, you are the father." Inside the courtroom, Rasheeda finally collapsed back into her chair, burying her face in her hands. Her lawyer requested an immediate adjournment, citing emotional distress, but the judge hesitated. "This case has turned into something much larger than a divorce hearing," he said grimly. Kirk slammed his fist on the table. "This isn't fair. This is all lies." But as Tanya's folder was officially entered into evidence, his lawyer leaned in and whispered the words no man in Kirk's position wanted to hear. "We can't fight this." The walls seemed to close in on Kirk as he slumped in his chair, his empire crumbling in real time. Jasmine sat back, arms crossed, her mission complete. Tanya dabbed her eyes, but kept her head high. Rasheeda sat shattered, her tears soaking into the papers she had once hoped would bring her closure. And then, as the gavel finally brought recess, another voice broke the tension. From the back of the room, a man stood up. His presence was commanding, his tone cold and deliberate. "Since everyone's airing out Kirk's secrets, maybe it's time we talked about what Rasheeda's been hiding too." The courtroom froze. Again, gasps filled the air as heads turned toward the man. Phones lifted instantly to capture the moment. Rasheeda's head snapped up, her swollen eyes locking on the stranger. She knew him, and just like that, the chaos took another turn. And there you have it. The courtroom didn't just collapse under the weight of Kirk's exposed lies. It was set on fire when Tanya dropped that paternity proof and Rasheeda's entire world came crashing down. But just when you thought it couldn't get worse for Kirk, a mysterious man rises from the back of the room and hints that Rasheeda herself has secrets still buried deep. What could those secrets be? Who is he, and why does he know enough to rattle Rasheeda at her most vulnerable moment? This story isn't over. In fact, it's only just beginning. If Jasmine's receipts and Tanya's bombshells could flip the entire courtroom upside down, imagine what happens if Rasheeda's skeletons come tumbling out next. Will this divorce hearing explode into a full-blown scandal war? Will Kirk finally lose everything? Or will Rasheeda herself get caught in a storm that no one saw coming? I promise you, the next update is going to be even more shocking than what you just witnessed, but you'll only get it here first. So make sure you hit that like button right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know you've got opinions, and most importantly, subscribe with notifications on. The next chapter of this saga is coming, and trust me, you do not want to miss the secrets that are about to shake this entire empire to its core.